What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have 7 things I see in Dutch homes that I never saw in American homes. Before we dive into the video, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's dive in.
Normally, when I make a video like this, I'm out and about walking through random Dutch neighborhoods, showcasing a lot of the scenery to further illustrate some of the points that I make in these kinds of videos.
I got you.
But for the sake of this video, this right here is the scenery, because in this video, I want to talk about some of the biggest differences that I've observed between Dutch homes and American homes. That said, the first thing that I see in Dutch homes that I never saw back home in the US is separate toilets and bathrooms. Now, if you're an
Oh,
American watching this, you might be wondering, what do you mean separate toilets and bathrooms? The bathroom includes the toilet.
uh-huh.
No, they don't, at least not here in the Netherlands. As a matter of fact, upon arriving to my girlfriend's family's house, when I
Uh-huh.
first got here to the Netherlands, one of the biggest things that surprised me was the fact that the toilet and the shower were not only in separate rooms, but they were on separate floors.
Oh,
The
wow.
toilet, or the wc as Dutch people like to call it, which I believe stands for water closet, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the wc was on the first floor and the shower was on the second floor. And I thought this was the wildest thing ever. Now, it does make a lot of sense if you're in a situation where there's only one toilet. Because I can
Yeah.
imagine that it would be very, very aggravating if you had to wait for somebody to finish showering in order for you to
Factual.
use the toilet, especially
Facts.
in the morning when a lot of people are getting ready at the same time.
Facts. True.
So I do see this as a positive, as a plus in that particular context.
Okay.
And in the two Dutch homes that I have been in, that has been the case, which, just as a side note, is something that I never really saw back home. Back home, pretty much any house that was built after maybe 2000 is going to have multiple toilets in the house. Even if it only has one bedroom, there's almost always going to be more than one
Almost.
toilet.
Yeah.
But here, it seems like that's not as often the case. And of course, more toilets is nice. That's a nice feature to have, but it also means more cleaning. So
Facts.
I just find it interesting that the shower and the toilet are in completely different rooms. And generally speaking, it also depends on the house that you're in, but the WC, the toilet room,
Yeah.
will have a sink in it as well. A very
Okay.
small sink, and the WC room overall is typically very small. It's almost like a closet, but with a toilet inside of the closet. But in the apartment that we're staying in for the next month, that is not the case. We don't have a sink within the WC room.
Where is
And
it?
it's a mild inconvenience,
Oh,
but
like
it's
in a
something that
kid?
we're willing to
Oh,
overlook in order to have our own space. But
I
that's
feel that.
definitely something that I have found to be very, very shocking. Now, on the topic of bathrooms,
I
the
feel like
next
that
thing,
is absolutely surprising. In a sense, it's so different. Like in America, we have like where we have like 1.5 baths or 2.5 baths, which means you got a full bathroom with your toilet and your shower or bathtub, and then the half is usually just a toilet and a sink. So you have those here in the U.S., but it's not like every single toilet and shower are separated. Most, yeah, showers and toilets are generally going to be in the same room. But I think, like he said, in that one context, yeah, it's nice to have the bathroom in a different room. If like everybody's showering in the morning, but you got to use the bathroom, and now you got to wait for somebody to finish your shower, or you want to take a shower, but somebody just used a bathroom, and you don't want to walk in there with that smell hitting your nose. You're trying to enjoy your shower. That's also a nice context, but it's just very different than what I've heard of. And I watched a lot of Dutch videos, and that's the first time I've heard that. So that's very interesting. Love to hear you guys' thoughts.
that I see in Dutch homes that I never really saw back in the US is adjustable shower heads.
Hmm.
Adjustable shower heads. Now, in some older homes in the US, you will see shower heads that you can remove, But I don't think I've ever seen a shower head that you could actually adjust
What do
and
you
move it
mean?
up and down according to your
Oh,
preferences for the height of the shower head.
that's
Back home,
nice.
growing up in the house that I grew up in, the shower head was basically embedded within the wall.
Yeah.
And now
Yep.
that I've experienced this, I'm not going to lie, I do believe that this is a lot better. For one, because it allows you to clean yourself more thoroughly. Two, because if you're cleaning the shower or the tub, it makes it a lot easier to clean that because you can literally remove the shower head
Mm,
and just spray where you need to
yeah.
spray. But also because when you are a different height than the other people who are going to be using the same shower as you, it can be very convenient to be able to move it. For example, my girlfriend, if you see her in the background,
Yeah.
is basically a midget. She's basically a midget, a dwarf, whatever you want to
She laughed in the background. It's basically a midget, a dwarf, whatever.
call her. She is very, very short. And so she likes to have the shower head at basically mouth level for me. And of course, for me, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't be very convenient. So
Yeah.
being able to move the shower head up whenever I take a shower is very, very nice. And also, just another little side note, but I have noticed that here in the Netherlands, bathtubs seem to be much less common, whereas back
Mm,
home, especially in the non master bathrooms, you're pretty much always going to have a shower and a tub in one,
yeah.
which looking back on it,
Yeah.
in my opinion, is kind of gross. And once I
Why
got a little
bad?
older, I realized that and I kind of stopped using the tub.
Oh,
But I digress. It's just another little difference that I've noticed. But the adjustable shower heads are definitely a major, major pro in my personal opinion. Now, the
mm.
next thing
Yeah. I feel
that
like that's what a lot of people say about bass is nasty because you're sitting in your own filth and all of that. I don't take baths, but I'm not on that team. I'm not. I'm on a bath. Sometimes it's very relaxing. It's very nice to just kind of sit in there and just soak. And I feel like you're still getting clean. I feel like you are definitely still getting clean. That's me. But I am a shower person just because I don't like sitting in one place for too long. And then the water in the bath starts, the temperature. You know, the longer you sit in there, the warmer it gets, and then it gets cold. And in the shower, it's always going to be hot water coming out of that bad boy. So I'm a shower guy all the way. Adjustable shower heads, yeah, that's cool to be able to rise it up, rise it down. There, like he said, there are some homes where yeah, you can take the shower head off and rinse around and do that. But most homes in the US are generally gonna have it in the wall. Like he said, where you can kind of push it up, push it down, and kind of adjust and I mean like toggle it, not like actually push it up or push it down, but like push the head, just angle it more upwards or angle it more downwards to kind of get the water to go in different places. But I feel like it'd be very convenient to actually be able to like push it up and push it down. So yeah, I gotta agree with them on that.
I have observed in Dutch homes that I never really saw back home is closets.
Mm.
And what do I mean by that? How do American homes not have closets? How do American bedrooms not have closets?
We got
Well,
closets.
it's not that American bedrooms don't have closets. As a matter of fact, they do,
Yeah.
but the difference is the closets back home tend to be embedded within the floor plan.
Yes.
So, in other words, you're almost always going to have a built in closet with its own door. Whereas here in the Netherlands, from what I've seen at
Wardrobe.
least, you never really have that. Maybe
Okay.
in bigger houses you have that, but back home, I would say that it's standard to have a built in closet. Whereas here, you get an extra piece of furniture
Okay.
that carries all of your clothes.
Yes.
And typically, that extra piece of furniture is a lot smaller,
Gonna
so it
closet.
can't really carry as many clothes. Back home, in some houses, for example, my apartment that I had back in 2022, you actually have a walk in closet.
Yes.
So you have a big
Yes.
walk in closet that's actually bigger than what your average WC would look like here.
Oh wow.
So you have plenty of space to put all of your clothes. My parents have one as well for themselves in their bedroom. In my childhood bedroom, I did not have a walk in closet. I had a very small closet, but it was still a closet that had a door and was built into the floor plan. Here,
Yes.
that just doesn't seem to be the case. It doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a difference, but I do feel like having to put an extra piece of furniture can sort of cut into the square footage of your room and make it appear smaller than it actually is. But it's a very, very minor inconvenience. We're talking about first world problems here, personified.
First world problems.
Now, the next
I would say I personally would prefer having a bigger closet that is built into the house. Yeah, that's me. I feel like I have a good amount of clothes. It's not gonna fit into one of those wardrobes. Um, I have too much, and I probably need to get rid of some. But I love them. I love all my clothes so much. You never know when you're gonna wear it. And yeah, and then when yeah, my last apartment, I did have a walk-in closet, which was very, very, very nice. Now in this apartment, we have three closets. Me, my wife, and my son all have a closet, and I probably got like the middle closet, second biggest closet. My wife got the first biggest. She has the most clothes. I got the second biggest. My son got the third. And he might have more clothes than anybody. He might, and the way he's running through them is crazy. But yeah, I'm not a wardrobe guy. We have those in our hotels. When you go to a hotel, you have a wardrobe, but I'm not really rocking with the wardrobes too much.
thing that I have observed about Dutch homes that I never really saw back home, at least in the same price point, is large windows. So you can see right here in the background, hopefully it's not too dark, but you
I
can
see it.
see we have a floor to ceiling window in
That's
this
nice.
Airbnb. And while not every place will have floor to ceiling windows, I have noticed that Dutch homes by and large tend to have very large windows. Almost invariably. I've never seen a Dutch home that didn't have at least one big window in it. And I think a big part of the reason why this is simply because there isn't that much natural light here. Obviously, it's
Mm,
nighttime right now, but even during the daytime, a lot of times it's cloudy and or raining. So you have to maximize the natural light that you do have access to. And I think that the size of the windows is also amplified by the fact that these windows typically have very little, if any, tint. So when you're going by people's houses, you can literally see straight through their house all the way to the backyard sometimes. And I talked about this in a video a while back, and people in the comments got on me saying
uh-oh.
that it was rude to look in people's houses. I heard this from Dutch people that it's normal. I
Yeah.
have heard from Dutch people, straight from the source, straight from the horse's mouth, that it is normal to do this. So maybe there's some sort of cultural divide within the Netherlands regarding that
Mm.
issue. Maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know. What I am saying is that the times where I have, by chance, looked in people's houses, not to say that I'm just looking in
Stare.
their
Yeah.
windows, stalking them, but
Yeah.
if I was riding my bike past their house and I just so happened to look to my side and I
Mm.
looked in their house, I could see straight through. I could see exactly what they're watching on TV.
Oh
I could see
wow.
exactly what they're cooking for dinner. I could see literally everything about their life through their window because the windows are big and they're very clear. And it's something that I myself like. I like big windows. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, this big window right here is almost solely the reason why we are here in this Airbnb right now. Because
Really?
once I saw this window, I knew that this place right here had our name on it.
Okay.
It's not to
Okay.
say that I spent $1,300 just because of a window, but I spent $1,300 just because of a window. And I like large windows, and back home, we just don't really see that.
Not
The only
often.
time you see windows like this back home are in more affluent neighborhoods. So
Agreed.
basically, you have to be rich and have a really nice apartment or really nice condo or house in order to have windows like this, the floor to ceiling windows.
Agreed.
Back home, you can expect to probably pay mid to high six figures for a house with windows like this. Whereas here, I mean, obviously the housing market is very, very expensive in its own right.
Yeah.
But again, this is just the standard, not the exception. And it's definitely something that I enjoy quite a bit. Now, staying on the topic of windows,
I feel like I do appreciate the big windows because that does look very nice in the house. I would not want anybody looking in my crib. I would not want anybody to look and see all the way through my home. So while I have the big windows, I probably try to cover them up with like I see he's got the curtains right there. I probably try to cover them up at least during the day, at least Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough. And then yeah, it's like it's. I want to know first of all which side of the line you guys fall on in terms of, is it rude to look at someone's house? Is it normal to look at someone's house? Also, if your windows are that big and you not got anything covering and somebody's riding by, like, yeah, they look to the side, they're gonna see in your house. So maybe, like you say, it's rude to like stare and try to, but if you look to the side, glance, and you're gonna see in somebody's house. So which side of the line do you guys fall on? But yeah, I love the windows. Look absolutely amazing. I will definitely say that they look beautiful in that apartment.
The next thing that I've observed about Dutch homes that I never really saw in American homes is the windows move differently. Now, what does
Oh,
this mean? Well, basically, from what I've seen, here in the Netherlands, a lot of times, especially in bedrooms, you can open the window in two different ways.
mm-hmm.
So you can either open it outwards, so you can push the window out,
Yes.
or you can only open the
Tilt it.
top half or the bottom half of the window. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
the window is tilted. I don't know exactly what you would call that. I'm sure there's a term for it. I just don't know what it is because growing up, we didn't have that. Back
Yeah,
home in Texas, the only way you could open your
what's
windows
up?
was up and down.
That's
That
it.
was it. I never
That
saw
is it.
windows that opened outwards. I
Mm-mm.
definitely never saw windows that tilted
No.
either from the top or from the
Yeah.
bottom.
Never.
But here, that is the norm. I've never seen a house without that. And a lot of people here, even in the dead of winter, when it's freezing cold outside, a lot of people like to take advantage of that feature. And I guess it helps ventilate the house. I don't know. But it's definitely a major, major difference in terms of the Dutch homes and Dutch windows in particular. Now, speaking of ventilation, the next
I feel like, yeah, I the only reason I know about those windows is because I react to the UK too. And they have those same windows that he's talking about where you could push out, where you could tilt up from the top, tilt from the bottom. So yeah, like you said, we don't have them here in the US, or I haven't seen them in the US. If anybody has them, I haven't seen them. Like you said, you can go up or down. That's about all the options you got. But yeah, I guess in Europe, I guess these windows might be common throughout Europe to be able to open. My thing is, I know the UK doesn't use window screens. Do you guys use window screens, or do you guys not have to worry about like flies or insects or anything like that getting in?
thing that I see in Dutch homes that I never saw back home is heating vents. Now, what do I mean by that?
Hmm.
Sure, back home in the US, even in Texas, we do have heaters. A lot of people don't know this, but Texas actually gets colder than the Netherlands. It just doesn't stay as cold for as long,
Really?
but it does drop into that negative 10, negative 15 degrees Celsius range.
They do be cold. Hey, Texas, as one who grew up in Texas, that winter, it can definitely get very freezing. Very freezing. But like you said, it don't last a long time, but if it sucks when I hate cold, and it sucks when it's that cold.
For probably a couple of weeks a year. But here, it does tend to stay cold for longer, so heating is a necessity. And
Mm-hmm.
what I've noticed is that here, the heaters tend to be these standalone vents that I don't even know how to really describe. They're
Hmm.
just very, very different than what we saw back home. Back home, the heaters and the air conditioning always came from either the ceiling or the wall. So you
Yes.
would see sort of a vent in the ceiling or the wall,
Yep.
and that's where the air came from.
Yep.
And I don't really know which one is better in terms of the effectiveness, but what I do know is that these ones definitely take up a whole lot more space. I would have
Mm.
to imagine theoretically that these ones would be more effective simply because they're
Bigger.
bigger,
Okay.
but I could be wrong about that. What I do know with 100% certainty is that I've never seen this back home.
Mm.
Sometimes back home, maybe in places like New York or just more urban environments, especially older urban environments, you might see that big AC unit hanging outside of the window.
I
That's
grew
not
up
what I'm
with
referring
that.
to.
I
Here
grew up
you
with
have
that.
these vents, and by now I'll surely have put up a screenshot somewhere in the video so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But you just have these vents that are inside the house and they're typically lined up on the wall. Maybe
Hmm.
you have a couple of them in a room and they're just there. I mean, you
Okay.
don't see the wall vents or the ceiling vents like you see back home in Texas, at least. I don't know about other states, but in Texas,
Yeah,
that's the standard. That's the
for
norm.
sure.
Now, the next thing
For
that
sure,
I
for
have,
sure, for sure. And as long as I don't care how you heat or cool down the house, as long as the house gets heated up or cooled down, that's what I care about. So I don't care where the vents are. I don't care how big the vents are. Is my house getting warm when I turn the heat on? Is it getting cool when I turn the air on? Yes. All right, I'm cool.
I've noticed about Dutch homes that I never really saw back home is the locks. The locks are different. Now, if
Mm.
I have one gripe with Dutch homes, this would be it.
Okay.
Basically, if you don't know what I'm talking about, with a lot of front doors here, in order to unlock the door, you have to use a key. Now, this is normal. Even
Mm.
back home in the US, you need to
Yeah.
use a key. The difference is that in the US, you only need to use a key from the outside of the
Yeah.
home.
Yep.
So if you're unlocking the door and you're outside of the door, you have to use your key. If you're inside, usually you'll have a little knob that you can simply flip and it'll unlock the door and you can exit the house. You close the door and then you lock it with your key.
Yeah.
Here, you have to use a key from the outside and the inside. So, in
Mm.
other words, you have to have your key, you have to unlock the door from the inside with your key, and then you walk out of the door, you close it, you lock it the same way with the key. Now, not only do I find this to be a bit inconvenient, I
Yeah.
actually feel like this is a very big safety hazard,
Hmm.
a fire
Oh,
hazard
I
in
didn't think
particular,
about
because
that.
imagine if your house is on fire and you can't find your key.
Oh,
And imagine if the front door is the only way to get out, or
oh,
maybe
oh, Lord.
you're basically screwed. Your only other option then is to jump out of a window, which will probably be on the second story. And of course, that carries its own risks. So, personally, I don't really understand why this is the case. If somebody knows more about that, if you know more about that, then please enlighten me in the comments because I have to imagine that there's some kind of advantage to doing it this way
Yeah.
other than just it being cheaper to produce or anything like that. I have to imagine that there's some sort of practical feature that makes this better that I'm just not seeing.
I feel like y'all answer me in the comment section. Can you not just like when you're going inside, when you go inside and you go to lock your door again, can you not just like leave the key inside of the door? That way, every time you go to leave, key's already there. You're not having to worry about where my key's at. Just twist, unlock, go outside, lock it back, come back in, unlock from the outside, put your key in the inside, lock it, leave the key inside the door. Can you not do that, or is that just not a common thing? Or that's what I want to know. I mean, I don't prefer the lock to be on the inside. To me, if I can turn a knob or whatever, it'd be easier to lock. But if I do have to use the key, I would leave it if that's feasible. Y'all talk to me. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe. Get a video a thumbs up. Check out the next. I'll see y'all next time.